Are you mentally strong enough to be able to see the vision you have for yourself and to move forward in spite of every voice that's clamoring in each ear, to let that God voice dial into that God voice and listen to that voice? Are you listening? Are you willing to listen to that voice?
Time is non-renewable. And so I always want to make sure that you get value, which is the whole point of why we put this podcast series together, to give you value for your life, insights, things that can make a difference. And, I'm particularly grateful and excited about this topic today because it's not easy to have this conversation about friends and family.
To learn about how incredible you were, nothing would ever stop you. How many of you ever had a moment where you had I knew I should have blank? Man, if I would have just blank, I should have blank, whatever that blank was. And 99% of the time, if you go back, one of the reasons why you didn't do it was because someone close to you told you not to do it. Friends and family. Friends and family. So this is about friends and family. And, for some people, this is going to be a little bit controversial because some people want to believe that their friends and family have all the answers. And that's just false. That's just false. And because you've known them a long time, what they do have is your trust. And so I have story after story in my life of times when I listened to my friends and family. And because I listened, it cost me promotion. It cost me money. It cost me accolades. It cost me a lot of things. But then there's other times where I listened to proven experts who were not related to me. We did not hang out with all the time, but they were already chosen in their field as high level, and it saved me money. It created more money. It created more success. So I need you to follow me for a second. One of the things that's really beneficial about being alive is that as you grow, you attract these people around you. Your tribe, right? And so the first tribe you have is your family tribe. They grew up, they know you, you're a little kid, they raise you, mom and dad, aunts, uncles, blank. But then you learn about this thing called your friends. And you go to these little camps, these schools, you meet your friends, and you create a chosen tribe. Now, that's great. That's important to do. However, there's something that happens as you get older. What happens as you get older is that these bonds of trust typically become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And so these people have more weight in your mind than sometimes even you have your own instincts for your own life. The things that they say have more weight. If they say, I wouldn't do that, you don't do that because you trust them because the bonds are so strong. If they say, I would do that, you do that because the bonds are so strong. And every time you look up at your life, you can go back to a time where you were seeking advice and the person you sought your advice from was someone that you had a long-standing bond. But let me ask you a question. Is it possible that the people that you have that long-standing bond with are not credible in the area in which they're coaching you? Let me give you an example. Have you ever had a relationship question and you called your single friend and you asked them about what they would do? Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being single. What I am saying is the fact that you have a relationship question and the person that you're talking to is not a part of one, whether by choice or not, where are they speaking from when they talk to you? Are they speaking from their own pain? Are they speaking from your potential joy? Where are they speaking from? You see, you don't know. All you know is you had a question and you were calling someone that you knew, and whether they were winning in the area in which you were getting that coaching or not, that's all that matters. But we don't look at it like that. We think, I've known her for 20 years. She wouldn't lie to me. You're right. She wouldn't necessarily lie to you, but she's only speaking from her own experience. And if her own experience isn't one that's positive, then she may not be speaking to you in a way that is really going to be a positive net value for you. If you can think about times you have questions about money, what do we do when it comes to money? Who are the first people we talked about money? Because usually for most people, just making a money decision is a terrifying event. Just making a money decision. Like, should I start the business? Should I not start the business? Should I invest in that stock? Should I not invest in that stock? Because we're so scared of losing, what do? We go back to the people who have long-term relationships with us. And we say, you know what? I'm thinking about investing in this thing. What would you do? And they say, well, I wouldn't do it. It's risky. And you say, yeah, you're probably right. And you keep that money and you put it in your pocket and it stays in your pocket. I'll give you a quick story. I had a guy that talked to me, oh my gosh, it had to be over almost 20 years ago. And he was like, look, there's this thing, and I don't have the specifics on it, but this guy was really smart. But he said there's this new form of currency that's going to be exploding, and I think there's real promise here. And look, you're making money, you should invest in it. And I said, well, what is it? And he's like, it's called Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, well, how does it work? And he said, basically it's this digital currency. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, that sounds very risky. So what did I do? I went and I called somebody who I've known for a long time. I said, have you heard of this thing called Bitcoin? He's like, yeah, I've been hearing about this a lot. He's like, yeah, man, I don't know. It sounds like a scam. I wouldn't do it. I said, okay, yeah, that's a good point. You're probably right. And I just let the conversation go. I think at that time, it was probably trading at like, I don't know, $7 to $10 per whatever the coin value is. Recently went over 100,000. Remember that friend that I called? Interesting conversation years later. Here's what he said. Man, I sure wish I would have got some of that Bitcoin early. And I'm like, wait, you told me not to do it. He's like, yeah, that's right. And I sat there on the phone. We had that conversation. It was a little while ago. And I thought to myself, if only I could talk to the younger version of me and say, James, no matter what it is you're thinking, you have to consider who you're running it by. You have to not vet the idea. You have to vet the people. When they vet people, they look at their backgrounds and they say, does this person check out? Does that person check out? It's not the idea you have to vet. It's the people involved in that idea you have to vet. And then you have to vet, who are you getting advice from? Now, not everyone has 100% of the answers on anything. But would you agree that there are some people who are super credible in whatever they're doing? Like they've achieved great things, or at least higher level success than maybe you have in that thing that you want to talk to them about. And what we do for some reason, because some of these people we don't have direct access to, these people who have all this knowledge, all this experience, what we do is we put them at a tier below the people that we've known for a long time who have no experience in that area. They have no credibility in that area. But we put their word above the person who has the established level of success. And so my question for you is, how much money, or what has the loss been that you can think of that has come from friends and family? It's not that they meant you harm, but in listening to them in an area in which they have no credibility, what has been the impact for you? Now, some of you know it right away. You can think about a job you didn't apply for because they said, well, you don't have that degree. You can think about a business you didn't start because they said, well, what do you know about that? Or where are you going to find the money? Or that piece of real estate you didn't buy because, they said, oh, it's risky. That's a risky area. I wouldn't invest down there. You could probably, if you really stop and think about it, you could go story by story, rolling through your mind about different things that you didn't pull that next step trigger on because you were afraid of what the outcome would be, because you already had a little bit of a hesitation and they just cemented the fear with their own fears. So imagine you have a hesitation. It's not necessarily a fear, it's more of a hesitation. Because if it was real fear, you wouldn't even be thinking about doing it. So it's a hesitation. But they have their own fears, doubts, worries, insecurities. They give you stories of, well, I tried that in 2012, it didn't work out for me. And so they put their story into your story. And their story is like a virus. It's a mind virus. And it begins to corrupt. It begins to corrupt your own thinking. And then you stop thinking. You're now just regurgitating their thoughts out. And that's what happens. There was a program that I was a part of. I'm still a part of it, actually. But I went through when I was younger, called the White Foundation. It's an unbelievable program. WIGHT, in case you're trying to Google it or something. The White Foundation in Newark, New Jersey. And they take kids and they give them an opportunity to go to private school. Now, at the time, I'm going to a school and I'm in Newark, New Jersey, and it's a Catholic school. And the White Foundation comes to the school and presents and talks about what it does and how it gives you the opportunity to go away to private school. And at the time, I remember a buddy of mine who I was in school with, his name is Terrence. And Terrence said, man, I'm not applying for that. They're trying to send you away. And I said, really, you think? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I heard about these things. He's like, I wouldn't do it. And so, but my mother, God rest her soul, so grateful that she heard about this. And she said, no, you're applying. And I said, no, I don't want to apply. Now, I didn't even know why I didn't want to apply. I just knew that the only thing I heard about it was my buddy Terrence said he wouldn't apply. And so because of that, I was resistant to it. I didn't want to go through the process of the interview. I didn't want to go through the application. I didn't want to do any of it. But my mother was no joke. My mother was straight, do what I say, and there's no conversation around it. So I applied. Reluctantly, it was either that or get whopped. I applied reluctantly. I went through the application process. I gave like a half-hearted interview because I still didn't want to be a part of the program because I'm still hearing Terrence in the back of my head because he's part of my peer group, right? So on the one hand, I have my mother, who used to be a teacher, by the way. And so my former teacher mother was telling me to apply. And my buddy, who's a student, was telling me not to. My mother won, obviously. I applied to this program. And that one choice changed the complete trajectory of my life. I discovered things about myself at that school that I went to, things I could never even, like, we don't have time to go into it. I'll probably have that conversation another day. But had I not gone through that program, I don't know where my life would be. I'm in the hood of Newark. I'm in Brick City. And I go from Brick City to this campus that costs like $40,000 a year when I was in high school. You get it? So all of a sudden my mind's exposed. I'm like my classmates are, grandkids of NFL team owners and I'm out of Newark. I'm like, I can't, princes, I had princes in my class. And I'm sitting there like, what are we like? They're like, so where you going on vacation? I'm like, I'm going back home. They're like, where you going? No, I'm going to Bali. Where's Bali? What is that? My mind was dramatically upgraded being around these people. It was. I couldn't function. When I would go back home, to my little apartment with my mom, and I'd be telling her these stories, and she's like, really? And I didn't realize that I was changing because I was around people that were expanding me, and they weren't trying to. They were just being themselves. But the very life that they had was expansive. The very way that they thought was expansive. The way that the way they saw the same situation versus how I would hear back home from other people that I grew up with was totally, totally different. And I decided that day I wanted a better life. I wanted to have more options financially. I wanted to be able to do something for myself. I just didn't know what it was. But the education came from that school, and I attended that school because of the White Foundation. And at the same moment, when I was in that school, attending, listening, learning, Terrence was back home in Newark doing the things that he was doing. I looked up Terrence years and years later, and I see his life, and it's crazy. It's crazy the things that he's been doing with himself. I mean, the stories on his feeds, or the violence. I couldn't even friend him because that's not who I was. I'm not trying to reestablish that connection. But what I am saying is that what I realized from that moment was, had I listened to him, I would have been going in a direction. His life, his choices, his opinions are for him. My life, my choices are for me. And when you take somebody else's opinions and you merge them into your thinking and you make their opinions law, but they have no credibility for what it is that they're saying other than how they feel about it. And you listen to them because of how they feel about it. You have no idea what you're doing because they're moving sometimes from a place of they're trying to protect you. But really sometimes it's their own insecurity. They tell you not to go for the thing because they can't see themselves doing the thing. It takes someone very special to truly want more for the next person than they have for themselves. To be able to say, you know what, that's not for me, but man, I think you'd be great at it. That takes someone special. Most people aren't that special. They're not going to say that. They're going to say, I wouldn't do it. My cousin did that. It didn't work for her. That's where people move from. So can you find people in your life who are not like that? You can. But before you find them, you have to guard your mind. You see, Your life is intricately designed for you. God orchestrated every aspect of your life for you. It's supposed to be for you. It is your life. If you think about it like this, the creator of the universe made each snowflake individual. Why would the creator of the universe not want to have your life be an individual event? And there's great value in learning from other people, but there's no value in learning from other people and having them to dictate your outcomes based on their experience. There's no value for you. Why would you even have a life to live if you're going to let everybody else dictate what the end of the story is going to look like because of what they tell you? So what you need to do is you need to make a choice. I can love you, but I don't have to listen to you. Now that's a hard thing to say. Matter of fact, some of the parents look at this and be like, "Oh my God, but what if my child does that? What if they do? What if they fall face forward, land smack themselves, but learn how to get back up? What if that idea they pursue has them go bankrupt? They have no money in their first idea. They lose it all in their second idea, but they hit it big in their third idea. What if that young person who says they want to play professional sports, you tried, you got hurt, it didn't work out for you. So you tell them to go get a safe job, and that's okay for you. But what if they're called to be a superstar athlete? And what if the people around them don't encourage that? Are you mentally strong enough to be able to see the vision you have for yourself and to move forward in spite of every voice that's clamoring in each ear, to let that God voice dial into that God voice and listen to that voice? Are you willing to listen to that voice? Because if you're not willing to listen to that voice, then every other voice is going to take your mind. One person's going to say go left, one person's going to say go right, and you don't know where to go because you're so busy listening to mom who's saying this or dad who's saying this, and they have no credibility in that thing. Instead of being surrounded by experts. Now, how do you find experts? It's very simple. You look at the outcome. That's it. It's really that simple. One day I was going to a gym not too far from me. Matter of fact, it's about maybe 3-4 minutes away from where I live. And I walk into that gym and I'm looking to get a trainer. And the trainers are sitting there, and the trainers just don't look like trainers. They just don't look like trainers. They look like they were locked in a Twinkie factory. And they're sitting there and they come up to me and like, "Hey, so you're looking to join the gym? Yeah, here's why you should join our gym." And I'm sitting there looking like, I am not, I'm about to pay you money? I can't pay you money. What do I pay you money for? I'm trying to not look like that. And I said, "Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it." But it's only because I'd have the experience of being around people who played life at a level that was high in an area that I wanted to play life at. For some people, that gym was super cheap. That membership was super, super cheap. Super cheap. And what I would have gotten was everything that I would have paid for, a cheap experience. But then there's another gym that I found that was 15 minutes away. And I go into that gym and it sounds like a bunch of wild lions in that room. People sweating, grunting, getting it in. All the trainers are super fit. They're working out with their clients. And I'm sitting there like, okay, this is where I need to be. Why? Because they were winning in the area in which they would be giving me coaching, my health. I saw them exercising with the people that were their clients. I'd never seen that before. I'm like, okay, these people aren't trainers. They're serious about their craft. Okay. Got it. So with that being said, I decided to join that one. And let me tell you something. When you associate yourself with people that are winning in an area that you want to win in, you're probably going to have a greater outcome because they've made it a mission to be able to live their life in a certain way. And in that one area, they're winning. So just because your parents have been married for 50 years, that doesn't make them great financial advisors. You get it? If you want to talk to someone who's been about how to stay married for 50 years, you got to go to your parents. Why? They've been married for 50 years. They could tell you how to stay married, right? Right there, you could go. If you want someone that is phenomenal in health, find someone who's already phenomenal in health, not someone that has opinions about health. Who do you know that's already phenomenal in health? Go listen to what they say. They may be related to you. They may not be related to you. You don't need the bloodline. You don't need the history. You need the documentation. That's all you need. I need the documentation from you. That's what I need from you. I need to know you're proven in what it is you're talking to me about. And if you could find a proven person in the area in which you're trying to raise your bar, then that is all you need. Your goal is to seek out mentorship. Mentorship that is proven, not people you've known for a long time. And so my question for you is, are you pursuing mentors? Life has many different areas. There's a faith life, there's a health life, there's a relationship life, there's a financial life. It's possible that one person could be all, but I don't believe one person is going to be all things. I just don't. So if I have, let's say, 4 or 5 different areas that I'm looking at, I clearly need to find at least 4 or 5 different mentors in those areas. Sometimes there'll be overlap, sometimes there won't be. But here's what I cannot do, what you should not do, that I'm going to recommend, is to believe because you've known them for 30 years that you need to listen to them. Is to believe because they share your last name that you should listen to them in that area. How to be a good person, they may be able to teach you that. How to be kind to others, they may be able to teach you that. How to be a good citizen in the world, they might be able to teach you that. Sometimes they can't even teach you that. But if you want specialized knowledge, find specialists. Remember this, the opinions of others are others' opinions, and that's great. It's great to have voices of people that you can trust. However, make sure that the people that you trust ultimately with your ultimate life are people who are winning in that area already in their life. When you have a vision for yourself, that's a God gift. God gifts you a vision. I don't think parrots have visions. I don't think that a parrot has a vision for a greater life. Eat, mate, poop. I mean, well, how far does it go? Like, this is as far as it goes. Like, this is as far as it goes. God instilled in humans the ability to have a vision, an individualized preview of your life's coming attractions. And it's yours. It's deposited into you. The desire to be a singer was deposited into you. The desire to be an actress, a business person, whatever it was deposited into you. It is your task. It is your gift that is for you. Your name it's stamped on your spirit at your birthing. The plans have been laid out for you. In order for you to manifest it, though, it's going to require for you to guard your mind from those who would not see what God has seen for you already. Make sure that you keep your vision your vision. It is your vision. And don't let somebody else be a revisionist of your vision. It's your vision. And if it calls to you, it's your calling. It's the thing that you're supposed to do. Hey, let me tell you something. I would much rather go for what I want and fall a little short than to go for what someone else wants for me, be miserable my whole life because I'm living a fraudulent life, because I knew what was for me and I sacrificed it on the altar of somebody else's opinions or somebody else's insecurities. And I let that mind virus warp and corrupt what God had for me. Don't let any man or woman corrupt what God has for you. It is for you. And you have to have the courage to defend that vision and go for it. I wish you nothing but greatness. God bless.